Hello and welcome to episode 14 of my trip down memory lane back to the Pacific Crest Trail and my Thru-hike exactly 10 years ago. In the last episode we ended up spending the night in Subway Cave, a large cave, and it was really cool to lie there in the cave and then see the thunderstorm in the sky through the cave entrance. That was really spectacular and a really cool feeling. And yes, we spent the night there because the next day was Hat Creek Rim, a very long plateau at quite a height, and yeah, there's no water at all. We set our alarm clocks at 5 a.m. and then filled up all our water tanks at the tap in the parking lot because there was no water for 39 miles on the trail. There is a small spring off trail where we filled up again, but yeah, we set off relatively early with 6 liters per person, I think. And what can I say? It was a really brutal day. It was very hot again for the start. And of course, as you can see here, we were completely exposed. There was no real shade. Of course, you could have ducked under a small bush from time to time, which we did occasionally, but there was no shade at all when we were hiking. So we hiked with our umbrellas again. And I think that was one of the hottest days we had on the trail, on the whole trail, even compared to the desert. Yeah, because I drank 10 liters of water that day, and I only drank those. I also used more water for food preparation, but I drank 10 liters, and yeah, that's definitely my personal record, I think. I don't think I ever got close to that again after that, but it was absolutely necessary, and I was still thirsty, It was so hot there and so exhausting, but as you can see, it was also super beautiful. So it was kind of a true, a double-edged sword, I think you'd call it. Yeah, mega nice to walk along there. Also quite cool here with the cows. They were a bit curious, which was quite interesting. And yeah, nonetheless, it was simply extremely exhausting. As I said, we had 6 liters of water at maximum capacity with us, and luckily there was a water cache in between, which Devilfish told us about, the guy who has shuttled us a few times. And we met him by chance, and he said, well, after about 22 miles or something like that, there's a water cache that he also was managing himself. And yeah, that was a relief because I was already pretty much going on the limit, rationing my water, and he had just told us that he had just been there the day before and that there was plenty of water. And yeah, I took that into account. You're not really supposed to rely on water caches, but in that case, if the person who maintains the cache tells you, then you can do it, I think. And I drank another, maybe 3 liters or something like that at the water cache, and it was a lifesaver. It was actually a really nice cache because there was a bit of shade and there were some chairs, and I think there were also a few muffins or apples or something like that. And I think that this cache made my day. So I was able to enjoy the evening hours on Hat Creek Rim after all. So yeah, reasonably hydrated, and yeah. But Hat Creek Rim is definitely one of those days where I have the most memories of how exhausting it was and how hard it was, and yet how great it was somehow, how beautiful. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, I was very happy to arrive at the spring, the first spring that we passed, and I put up the tent there and went straight in lying down and finished the day. But yeah, a great day, lots of impressions, and yeah, it's just crazy that you can walk so far without water. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot all about that. At some point we got our first glimpse of Mount Shasta, which you can see down here, and I think it's the most photographed object in my photo collection of the PCT. I have now spread several photos of Shasta over this episode from time to time, and these are by no means all of them. An incredibly beautiful mountain, which of course doesn't come across in a photo as it is, as always. But it's so majestic, so huge, towering so much higher than everything else. And then with the snow cup, it's just totally amazing sight. And somehow it's also a sacred place in many religious and esoteric cults and the like, even among the Native Americans already. And yet somehow that makes sense because it radiates an aura that you're somehow spellbound by it, that you're fascinated by it. So it's just a very special place, and it's pretty cool to hike there again and again with this mountain in view. Oh yeah, we also managed 1400 miles that day. Man, Hat Creek Rim, that was definitely a day with a lot of input, a lot of moments, a lot of experiences, and yeah, well, another 100 miles done. That was definitely nice and very nice. Definitely one of the best experiences in terms of trail magic on the entire trail. But was this place? This is now the next day, and the timing couldn't have been better. So we woke up in the morning after Hat Creek Rim, and were really quite exhausted. And then we thought, well, let's go to Burney Falls. Which still was a long way, but we planned to take a long break there. Well, but after a short time, we passed this amazing place, and it was a little paradise in the middle of nowhere, just for hikers, and there was really everything. You can see here, there are seats, there is food, there is a cool box with drinks and hot dogs, and yeah, it looks a bit rancid, but no matter. It was really cool to arrive there without knowing that anything was waiting for you. And after such a day, and it went on. So there was plenty of food in the cupboard. We took out a tin of corn and some Knorr sides, creamy garlic shells or something like that. And yeah, as I had told you before, we didn't have a stove with us. I've mentioned that. But there was one here, and I think it'd be in a video. Yeah, let's see. Anyway, we cooked something there, and it was kind of awesome to, after this very exhausting day, to have a nice lunch. And yeah, so there's the cooking station, really perfectly equipped with a gas bottle and everything. And there was a fire extinguisher. I don't know if it really would have worked, but yeah, and then there was garbage cans and a dartboard. It was a real paradise after such a hard day, which is just wonderful. But that wasn't all, because there was a solar charging station too, where you could plug in all your devices. There was a car battery, and yeah, these two fed solar panels, and that worked. Not that great, not like a power socket, but that's logical. But it was really cool that you could have even charged your phones there. Back then, everything was, the batteries were weak, and it took forever to recharge them, and you were always happy to take in some energy for your devices. And now there was even a shower here with prepared shower bags, so you hung them up there. They were filled with water, and they warmed up in the sun, and then you could even take a warm shower there. It really was trail magic. It was so great. You can make it up. Well, we stayed there for a very long time and enjoyed the amenities, and well, wrote our names on the bench and took our pictures there with the disposable camera they had. And well, it was just a really, really cool day. Nevertheless, we moved on at some point, of course, and we still wanted to get to Burney Falls and on. But it was relatively easy to walk, so it was actually quite nice, and we made our distance pretty fast. And then on the way, I saw this pelican there, which is somehow the first and only pelican I've ever seen. And I thought it was kind of funny, because I wouldn't have put him there. I sort of put them in the sea, but apparently they're also found in freshwater. And yeah, it was nice. It was just floating on the lake, and it definitely was cool to see an animal again that I had never seen in the wild before. Yeah, and then we went to Burney Falls, and yeah, it's a magnificent waterfall when you look at it like that. Of course, there's no relation to how big it is now, but it's very, very big. In the same year, there was this PCT hiker, kind of an idiot, who thought he should jump down there, and he did, and it's very high. It's like 130 feet or something, and he bit a hole in his tongue. So really, really cool thing to do. But yeah, I think the PCT can sometimes make you reckless, or give you the feeling that you can somehow do anything. And yeah, he probably thought it too. But I mean, everything went well besides that, and I think it healed, and well, he had a story to tell. Yeah. Here are a few more photos of the waterfall. We took a very long break there too. There was even internet, which wasn't available everywhere back then. So We mostly went to libraries for internet or restaurants or something, but it wasn't like there was Wi-Fi everywhere like it is now, and we didn't even have mobile data. So, well, there was internet, and we got some information and contacted our families and so on, and then enjoyed seeing this great waterfall from up here. As you can see from here, we were standing on this viewing platform, and the view was simply amazing. But in the evening, we went out again, another few miles, and we didn't actually hike that much that day, but it was still a really cool day with lots of great experiences and impressions, and it was really fun. Yeah, so here's another beautiful lizard. I don't know which one it is. Could be a skink or something, but I think it's always great to see animals, and especially animals like this. I say like special animals. I mean, sure, seeing a bird is cool too, but you see birds all the time. But animals like this, not so often. And yeah. You also see deer more often, but they're rarely so tame. And I've mentioned before that they weren't shy and they had such a curiosity. And so this deer here, it was running around us the whole time during our break, always circling around us, and I don't know what it was up to. But in any case, it was circling around us the whole time, and yeah, we must have sat there for an hour or two, and the deer just kept circling around us over and over again. I found it quite amusing in any case. But yeah, they're also really cute, aren't they, with those huge ears? I don't think they have those ears in Germany. I mean, of course, they are different species of deer, but I thought they were super nice. Yeah, and here we have Shasta again. Wonderful mountain. You can already see that it's always relatively hazy here. It's probably smoke from fires. Later on in the stage, we really smelled it at some point. I guess you can smell it depending on how the wind direction is. And yeah, while we were hiking through Northern California, there were already a few fires in Oregon and Northern California. And that was definitely noticeable from the smoke. But yeah, this is just a sight to behold. Yeah. When you're camping with such a great panoramic view, you can't beat a coop. I mean, this is so much better than having a penthouse or anything. Just a tent with this huge garden and such a gem in your garden. It really beats everything else. Yeah, here's another curious deer. That was also very cute, looking like that. Tilted head. And a lady moth, also a beautiful butterfly. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild before. And up here, I thought that was great too. They were huge leaves, like gigantic. You can't really see the proportions on the picture, but they were real, bigger than garbage can lids. They were really magnificent leaves. And then yes, that was him, my bear. That was the only bear I saw on the entire trail, but it was a crazy experience. The trail made a horseshoe shape and a stream flowed right through the lower point of the U, so to speak. And I went around the bend and put my backpack down on the trail and then scrambled down the slope to the stream, which was kind of a gorge, I'd say. And yeah, I was filtering water, sitting there completely absorbed in my thoughts, and then suddenly I just heard a noise, a cracking sound, and then this bear just walked like 3 meters or something like that away from me. So, he was on the trail and went down exactly where I went down, across the stream in front of me, and up again on the other side back onto the trail. And then he continued on the trail, and I was sitting there and I was totally amazed, of course. He didn't notice me at all. I mean, he must have noticed me, but he didn't look at me or anything. And I just waited until he was gone, and then quickly ran to my backpack, got my camera and filmed him from a distance. But that was such a cool experience. And it was also quite big. I think it was a male. First of all, he walked past my backpack, which was full to the brim with food. We didn't have our bag canisters with us, you know. You only have to take them until South Lake Tahoe. And they were gone. And he wasn't at all interested in the fact that I had food there, and he wasn't interested in me either. So really, it was a totally crazy experience. I still think about it very, very fondly. Yeah, and that's Shasta again. Well, the bear is spectacular, but so is this mountain. And yeah, simply amazing. Oh well, Shasta again. Yeah, what can I say? I mean, that was just the main motive of this stage. You keep coming around the bend and Shasta's there again, and then you just have to take a picture because it's so beautiful. This mountain is so beautiful.
Was übrigens richtig erstaunlich ist, diese Bäume.
What's really amazing, by the way, is that these trees, they can be so burned that when you look up, they just keep on living.
Der ist komplett verbrannt hier unten.
It's completely burned down here and green up there. The same applies to this one. Green needles at the top, hardly anything at the bottom.
Unten kaum mehr vorhanden. Das dicke Ding hier ist...
This thing here has partly broken off, but it's also completely burned and it just lives on at the top. It's so amazing what nature does here. Simply incredible.
Hier veranstaltet. Einfach unglaublich.
Yeah, it's really crazy how much nature clings to survival. The fact that you supposedly completely destroy a tree, hollow, can still live on such, you know, it's impressive. Well, let me put it this way. If we were to lose that much of our body, then it would be over. The trees are much more resilient than we are. So, close to this campground, there was a post office, and we picked up our resupply package, and then we spent the night here at the campground. And we actually wanted to push really hard for a few days to Etna, so that we could pick up our resupply package on Friday and not have to wait until Monday. But after 2 days of 25 miles, we realized that it was a bit tough and decided to take it a bit easier and just wait until Monday if necessary. But that's definitely preferable to getting injured. Anyway, the next day we went out for a leisurely hike and were somehow in a relieved mood because, you know, we had already thought, okay, 25 miles today, 26 tomorrow, and so on. And then we thought, okay, let's just see how far we can get today and, yeah, enjoy the day. And on the way we passed this, I think it's called something with a castle peaks or something like that. We see it again later from the other side, and it was totally cool. So I thought to myself, that would be the great place to sleep. But of course, you cannot get up there, at least not hiking. I mean, you can probably climb up there, but I definitely thought it was cool. Right, here it is from the other side, and this is where we Cowboy camped. There were lots of people, lots of hikers, and there was no room for the tent, so we just slept on the ground, and it was really nice. Falling asleep with this view of these peaks and Mount Shasta, it was awesome. And the stars came out, of course, and every time I woke up in the night, I was just amazed by seeing the stars with no light pollution, the Milky Way and everything, and it was awesome. And in the morning, the sunrise on this panoramic view, it was just wonderful. Yeah, so we then took it easy. As you can see, we were still there long after sunrise, so this is still the spot here. And yeah, but at some point we set off, and right here we have a small spring.
Wir sind jetzt mal wieder an einer Wasserquelle und ich wollte das einfach nur mal kurz festhalten, wie das eigentlich...
We're at a water source again, and I just wanted to take a quick picture of what it always looks like.
Findet man plötzlich Wasser, auch wenn man das überhaupt
You suddenly find water in the middle of nowhere, even if you wouldn't think so. It's really hot and dry here.
Aha. Hier könnte es jetzt soweit sein.
And then it's suddenly green. And you can always tell by that, it could be time here now for water. And then fresh, clear, cold water comes out of the mountain somewhere. Wonderful.
Tja, dann hältst du deine Flasche da drunter.
Well, then you hold your bottle under there and then you have something to drink again.
Mit schöner Aussicht.
With a beautiful view. Yes, and that was always really wonderful. This clear, cold mountain water tastes so delicious and is so refreshing when you've hiked through the heat. Of course, it doesn't stay cool for long. So if you take 3 liters with you, they'll be warm in no time. But sitting there at the spring and having a drink was always really nice. And then we arrived here at the lake in the evening. There were already a few other hikers here, and at some point one of them came over and said, do you want to camp here? And we were like, yes. And he said, yeah, but that's a bit close to us. And we were like, huh? Isn't that your tent back there? It was like 60 yards or something away. And he was like, yeah. And we were like, that's too close now? And he was like, yes. Well, they were very bad-tempered people who wanted to have their peace and quiet, and who apparently hadn't expected to meet PCT hikers on the PCT on a lake in the middle of the PCT hiking season. And, well, that's what I told him. I told him that there's going to be like 30 more people coming through. And, well, he just gave us a stupid look and, well, he basically chased us away, and we didn't want to interfere with him at all, and we just walked 100 yards further onto this meadow, and well, then we just camped there and talked all night, which must have been really annoying for them, of course. They were gone in the early morning, but yeah, I don't know. I thought that was very strange, and we all thought it was very strange, and they were just so unfriendly, and yeah, not all people who are out in nature are nice, and so we just went on and did our thing, but yeah, some people make it extra difficult for themselves. Nevertheless, we spent a nice evening there and out of the sight of these people, and then the next morning we decided to have a 0 day there, which we did, and that was really great because it was the first day where we really didn't do anything. Of course, we washed our clothes in a lake and went swimming and ate and so on, but no obligations like buying groceries, running to the post office, checking the internet. You know, we just chilled, and that was really relaxing. But the next day, we went on again quite well, and then it started with some really cool trail magic. Snacks and breakfast, and there was a few sweets, homemade muffins, tortilla chips, grapes, oranges, so that was another perfect start to the day. I had a group of ladies coming towards me on the trail, and they were like, hey, we've made a trail magic for you, and I was like, yeah, great. I ran straight there, and I didn't find it at first, but then I did. And yes, then we had a nice breakfast there. It was really great. Yeah, and it's almost the end of this episode. We actually wanted to walk further than we did in the end, but I had seen on the trail notes that there was another way down to Etna, and we just decided to try to hitchhike down there the following day, because then we would still make it to the post office on Friday, and that's what we decided to do. Here I can see some smoke again. Yeah, it really was forest fire season now, and it was a constant thought that you had. So hopefully we can get further. Hopefully there's no fire closures and stuff. But yeah, that was a constant thought now. But yeah, first of all, here's this plant. I thought it was really funny. It looks like having a mustache, and yeah. But first we wanted to get to Etna. And the evening before we camped near the highway, and then there was a storm.
Kleines Unwetter da draußen.
Small storm out there. Perfect timing. I finished putting up the tent about a quarter of an hour ago.
Das Zelt fertig hingestellt. Jetzt fängt's an zu
Hell
hageln.
no, it starts to hail.
Ja,
Yep,
richtig gut.
really
richtig
good.
Drin.
I'm laying in here.
Das ist schön. Schauen wir mal raus.
Let's take a look outside.
Naja, das muss man sich nicht angucken.
Well, you don't have to look at it.
Ja, hoffentlich bleibt alles stehen. Da scheint nämlich
There
auch eine
seems
Menge
to be a lot
Wind
of
mit im
wind
Spiel zu
involved.
sein. Kommt gerade erst hier so an. Oh. Ah ja, erstmal hinlegen, ne?
Well, let's lie down for first, shall we?
Maike, die Arme, ist leider noch unterwegs.
Maike,
Hoffen wir
poor
mal,
thing,
dass
is
das
unfortunately still on the road.
Sie nicht
Let's hope she
total
doesn't
nass
get
wird.
completely
Das wär
wet.
echt blöd, wenn
That
sie hier
would be
ankommt und
really
alles
bad.
ist nass.
She arrived here and
immerhin
everything
kann
was
sie sich
wet.
dann ins warme Zelt
Well,
reinlegen.
at least she can lie down in a warm tent.
Kalt ist es nämlich nicht.
Because it's not cold. Yeah, weather like this is usually rather unpleasant, but when the forest is on fire, it's great. Yeah, and that's it for this episode. So the next day we went to the highway and we hitched to Etna, and well, it wasn't an easy hitch, but at some point we were taken down to Etna, and we managed to pick up our parcel, and I think I ordered a new backpack from there because from my backpack the hip belt was ripped off, and yeah, we just spent the day there and wanted to hitch out again in the evening, but that's when we are going to start in the next episode. And until then, as always, if you liked it, please subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment if you want to tell anything or if you have any questions, and other than that, I will see you in the next episode. Ciao!